Well, we should
Yeah.
probably introduce ourselves for anyone who doesn't know either one of us. Why don't you tell me
Yes.
about you and your business?
Yeah, so I'm Chloe, everyone, and it's really different, this chat actually talk. Usually when I'm, on podcast or doing a video for business, I'm always talking to someone in the wine niche, because that's, what I'm in. I work in the wine industry. I am Australian, if you can't tell by my accent, but I obviously live here in Italy, as we've been discussing. And I help wineries and wine businesses with their digital marketing, their social media, basically anything that helps them grow their business online, which is how I met you, Georgia. And your niche and your background is totally different. So,
That's
yeah,
right.
introduce my audience to what you do.
Yeah, I thought it was, I'm so happy we get to do this chat because I've seen so many parallels between our two industries, even though they are very different. So I'm in dance and fitness, and I also work a lot with people in pole dance and aerial and acrobatics and that kind of thing. So it's something that is hard to imagine a business owner whose whole model is around these in-person lessons and this physical training, being able to continue through this time when their doors are closed. And I loved what I saw, what you were doing with the wine industry too, because that's again something that I guess with wineries, that's a different kind of story too. Although you can get wine delivered, there's the whole experience around going to a winery and all this kind of thing that is now just something that people can't do. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're both from Australia. We both met through the digital marketing, and we've ended up into sort of very different but similar, I guess, situations right now with how we're trying to help our clients pivot their businesses and move online and stay strong during this time. So I hope that some of the stuff that we talk about today is going to be helpful to both our audiences.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's very funny that, working in an industry where you physically, the idea of buying wine or getting your hands on it, the idea is that you physically have to go to the place where it is made in order to get your hands on it. And even in this like direct to consumer world, this online world that we live in, the mentality is still so old school and so traditional. So having to be living through these times in quarantine and seeing everyone being forced to use this online way of, getting revenue has just like been mind-blowing for the industry that I'm working in, even though it is, it's like we're stepping out of time. We're still in dinosaur ages. We're not a very progressive industry. And I don't know about you guys over in pole world, and what's it like in terms of the mentality with doing stuff online and using the online space?
I suppose it does. It depends on the business, obviously. There are, even before this crisis, there were quite a lot of pole tutorial platforms and online learning experiences for pole dancers, for aerial, for circus, yoga, and all these kinds of industries. Anything in dance and fitness, it's been online. We've had DVDs before online even. So some of that, I guess as a concept was already there, but for the individual business owner, it's generally been a really big leap, because most of them are, a lot of them didn't even have online bookings for their in-person classes. So they didn't even have payment processing or that kind of thing. Marketing even as well is something that, although people are savvy with using social media and email and stuff to stay in touch with their customers and try to grow their audiences, a lot of marketing in the dance and fitness space is very much word of mouth or between local businesses, doing demos and attending expos and really just being kind of present in the community in a physical sense. So yeah, it's been quite a shift for a lot of people, and it's been pretty exciting. I'm really impressed with some of the innovations that I've seen, and just the sort of tenacity of the business owners to keep their doors open in a new way. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's so cool to see how different businesses have, had to get creative, and the things that they're doing that, I don't know, you as a digital marketer, me as a digital marketer, I've been telling my industry to, do this and push for them to do these things like create videos and get comfortable on camera. And you know, they never do it. It's taken
Because it's
like
quite
such
a big ask, really, isn't it? Like it's like you got to get camera ready, you've got to get the equipment, and you got to figure out. People are not even sure what to say, and it just feels like this massive hurdle. But when you have no choice but to face that and surmount it, then it's pretty cool to see what they've been doing.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think even just getting behind camera from like a personal standpoint, it's, you know, it's nerve-wracking, it's not natural, and yeah, it's just really cool to see what businesses have been doing. And I think it's also cool to think about, you know, consumers and how people have been consuming content. And you know, there's consumers on the other end of that business, right? Sitting at home, trapped at home right now during quarantine with nothing to do. And they're looking for a source of entertainment or inspiration or education from these businesses that they once were, you know, going to buy wine from or going to do fitness with. So yeah, it's cool to see that balance between the two and see them working together.
Yeah, it's like a little kind of cycle that's feeding itself because, excuse me, because as the business tries to come up with innovative ways to serve their customers, at the same time, customers are already out there seeking ways to fulfill their needs that aren't getting met anymore because they're not able to attend the wineries or attend the dance studios. So yeah, it's kind of been this beautiful thing where sometimes it's a business responding to just what the market is already out there doing, and it's also the opposite where businesses are out there just trying something new and seeing whether customers are going to take them up on it and play along. So have you seen any particular examples? Is there anything cool that your clients have done or that in the industry you've seen along these lines?
Businesses, what they're doing?
Yeah, or like in the wine industry, like we're talking about ways that people are innovating and getting their products or services to their customers in a virtual sense. Can you give me any examples of what that's looking like?
Yeah, so I guess for wineries, first of all, it's really interesting because not only is it a personal, like it's a different way of doing business, you know, direct to consumer and doing everything online, but there are also like a lot of countries, particularly America, because I'm working with quite a few people over in the US who have very strict legislation around the way wine has to be sold. So traditionally, you know, we have the 3-tier system, and that goes from the producers to the distributors to retailers and then out to the consumer. And not only is this mentality the way that they get their product into the hands of the people, but it's like actually enforced by laws. So things have been changing in legislation due to quarantine, you know, because distributors can no longer function the way that they used to. They can't sell their wines through restaurants, and well, they can, they're doing it in a different way, which I'm about to go into. But I guess like the point of where I'm going with this is that I've lost my train of thought. I'm gonna have to edit.
Opening people's minds up to all these alternatives. And I guess to your point, it's not just the businesses and the consumers who are having to adapt, but now in your case, the whole industry and legislative like change might be coming out of this because people need to adapt.
Yeah, 100%. So I guess, yeah, so what I'm saying with where I was going with that is the way that the businesses have started to sell to their consumers, it's like they've just broken free from these chains, right? Where the legislation's dropped, they're allowed to express their creativity in ways that they've never been able to. So a few things that businesses have been doing, especially wineries, is they are still partnering with, you know, restaurants, and they're still selling bottles directly through deliveries, but they're relying solely on those restaurants, right? So they have to create partnerships with a lot of restaurants, a lot of local restaurants around town. They've started doing all these types of things online. Obviously, virtual wine tasting is a huge one, but even other things like they're hosting different trivia nights, which are sponsored maybe by bigger wineries who are going to be supplying the wine. I even saw one winery who is doing filmed kind of educational walks. So traditionally you would go to a vineyard and you'd get taken around the winery and do a tour of the winery. And that's your standard way of getting introduced to wine. Whereas now they're doing this with video, right? So they're taking their GoPro, their phone, whatever, through the vineyards and educating their consumers on the vines and you know, like you were if you were actually going to visit.
Is this something they're doing at a one-to-one thing, like a live thing with a customer, or is this video content that they're sort of producing and just putting out there for their audience?
So with this, I mean, I've seen wineries do this for like on their social media, right? So they either just use Instagram or it's out to all of their network and all of their audience, or maybe they're sending it to their email list, their marketing list. I don't think that it's like a purchased ticket. It's more of just a way to keep their consumers educated and interested and possibly pick up a few new consumers on the way. But they're doing so many different things. I've seen people do, you know, people are really using their strengths of what they do normally. So different wineries, like people, different owners of businesses have different hobbies, right? Some people are more into exercise, some are more into baking, some are more into cooking, some are more into, I don't know, like the real science behind wine. So they're using their strengths and bringing that to as an added extra to whoever it is that they're trying to get to purchase their wine, right?
That's really cool. That makes
so it's
my
really
kind
cool.
of heart as a digital marketer just sing, because like, yes, let's see like your personality. Let's get your, like, this is basically what branding is. It's about letting those sides of yourself into your business, and what kind of different experience or content or vibe or message can you create by looking beyond just what the, I guess, foundations or essentials of your service are. Who are you as a person? You know, what's your story, and bring all that in. That sounds really awesome.
100%. And it doesn't take any extra effort. I mean, it takes a little bit of extra effort, but if you're using something that you already do in your daily life, if you love to bake cookies for your kids, if you love to cook Italian pasta recipes, like you're just using your skill set and your personal brand and bringing that into your business. And I'm really excited to see what this period does for wineries, for small businesses in, you know, really focusing on their branding a little bit more and creating something bigger out of their business than just a winery, you know, just selling a product.
So do you think this will have a lasting impact? This will change the way that wineries do business and how they market
100%.
and everything?
100%. It has to. I mean, if it's changed legislation, if it's taken, you know, something like this to legislation, they've been trying to change this since the prohibition ages in America. And so if it's, you know, forcing to change legislation, then it's got to be forcing the way people think about business and do business. And I guess it's just history, you know, it's just dinosaur kind of traditional marketing that's kind of dying, and it really excites me. And I'm sorry if it's hard for the people who are out there right now who are struggling. I know that there's a lot of wineries, a lot of businesses that you know, haven't really been focused too much on the digital side of things for a long time. And I know it's hard, but I think it's also a period that's so exciting for them to innovate. And yeah, I'm super excited to help anyone if they want to reach out and, you know, ask me about it. But
absolutely,
yeah.
it has been a very interesting challenge, because it's something where, you know, yes, one door closes, another door opens. There are actually silver linings in here, as much as it is something that's very hard. And I don't want to, just like you said, I don't want to downplay the difficulties that business owners are going through, especially if they have lost a lot of their revenue, or if they aren't able to serve their customers in the same way they usually can. But yeah, it is still very, very exciting to see what they are creating out of this crisis, and how that might change their business, or even the whole industry, like you say, moving forward. I would love to see a lot more online content in all industries. Like perhaps that's just me as a bit of a tech fan, but I think that being able to bring stuff home and to continue that relationship, and it really is about that, like the relationships that you have with your customers, being able to still reach them when they are out enjoying their day. To your point, baking and walking the dog and cycling and stuff, you know, maybe they want to bring the relationships that they have with other businesses, whether that's wineries or dance studios or fitness and gyms. They want to be able to experience that outside just those four walls of that business. So now they're finding out ways that they can.
Yeah. And I think like what brings me into my question of asking you, you know, what you can see is happening in your industry and how businesses are innovating. I think it's really important right now to also be, you know, when we work in an industry, we tend to get stuck in it. We tend to get really like this narrow focus on what works in that industry and what's been working in that industry and almost following the leader, you know. But I think it's so important and so exciting right now to be looking outside of your industry, right, and seeing how other industries are dealing with it. What are things that they are doing to improve or get through this tough time that we can leverage in our industry, you know? So yeah, I guess what I would love to learn from you and know is how, you know, you find fitness and pole studios are coping, and anything that they've been changing or implementing.
Yeah, well, I guess the biggest hurdle for a lot of them is the fact that their customers need space and equipment to do workouts. So immediately a lot of studio owners had to pivot to, for example, let's take the pole dance clientele, to things that are not always on the pole. And this is part of their business model anyway. They do flexibility and strength and conditioning. They often do different influences of like different dance styles and learn movement and things, and all that compounds to then be something you can put together in a performance. So they had these kinds of offerings already in their business, but what I've seen is a major shift to more of that content online, knowing that not every customer has a pole or has a large, you know, beautiful wooden floors and mirrors and lights and stuff that they can, you know, go to town with a awesome piece of choreography. We're having to create routines that work in tiny spaces. People are doing those couch workouts and that sort of thing. I mean, I've seen really cool and creative things in like kitchens and bathrooms and all sorts that you can use that are available. And it's been fun to see both, like you said at the beginning, the business owners and the customers sort of driving that, because I've seen, I guess, as business owners create online content, and that's really what the bulk of it has been for many of them. It's either pre-recorded and downloadable tutorials, so someone can just follow along at home on demand, or it's been live classes where they get together on Zoom and they're able to get feedback from the teacher and do more of a sort of Q&A that you might get in a classroom. And in both these cases, we're seeing the business owner or the studio owner will come out with a lesson plan and create some material and then get that feedback cycle from the customers. And we're seeing changes to how they conduct a class. So an hour-long class, you can fit a certain amount of stuff in it when you're there in person, but online, it's different. The energy levels are different. It's kind of maybe draining to like try and look like where's the foot, and like it's a bit pixely or the audio is dropping out. So you want to be able to replay it later. So they then start being like, okay, what else do people get out of our classes when they come to us in the studio? Yes, they're getting this workout, and yes, they're learning dance moves, but they're also just getting fit and strong. And flexible. And so maybe I can help them with nutrition advice or sleep tips or structuring their workouts. And it's kind of moved into coaching in a way, and people being able to support their customers in this journey, because their customers are struggling. Their customers want to stay fit and strong. They don't want to come back in 2 months' time and have lost all their conditioning.
100%.
So yeah, studio owners have been finding ways to do that. And I've also really loved the social side that I've been seeing. So people have just absolutely taken it in their stride to do like crazy goofy things on Zoom. Like, have you seen there's like a, you know, the grid view that you get when there's a lot of people on the call, and then they're linking up, so they're sort of passing in pole dancing, we need to hold our cloth every now and again, because you can't, if it's slippy and you're sweaty or oily, it's hard to grip, right? So we kind of have this running joke around this cleaning cloth that always makes an appearance in a performance and you didn't like least expect it or something. So they've got this cloth that they're like throwing from one screen to the other, and it's, you know, two people's camera angles as they're catching it. And
yeah, I've seen that before with like the in the makeup industry, like with the makeup brush that they chuck around.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's kind of like tagging someone in, like, oh, you've got the cleaning cloth now, like, let's see your trick on the pole or something. So
okay.
like dance chains
Fun.
sometimes. And then just totally unrelated social catch-ups. And that's one of the biggest things that I feel, and it might be similar in wine tasting, is that people are drawn to it because of the recreational side of it
100%.
and the people that are there. So
100%.
sometimes, like, before a class starts, everyone's chatting about their dogs and cats and babies, and, you know, after class, especially in an environment where you're getting hot and sweaty, and your adrenaline and endorphins are pumping, people get very close and people like want to talk and share and gossip and connect. So studio owners have been creating opportunities for that, just happy hours,
100%.
you know, bring your pet to Zoom day, or let's do some sort of I've even seen like sewing and knitting and whatever catch-ups, and people might be having a little bit of a pole theme in there. So maybe they're I don't know, let's try to knit a new costume or something, like a new headpiece or whatever for performance. But even without that connection to the industry or the brand, I've just found these completely casual, just person to person ideas are taking off. Like, people are just at home and they're missing the community they used to be part of. It doesn't have to be about wine or about dance or about fitness. They just want people.
It's funny because I think a lot of wine drinkers are saying, like, a lot of wine consumers, and I obviously talk with a lot of bloggers and a lot of people who drink wine on a consistent basis, not for only the social aspect but for the educational aspect. And yeah, they're all saying, like, I haven't had so many social interactions this past month. I've had so many more social interactions than I have like the whole entire of last year, you know, because everybody's wanting to connect. Everyone's wanting to jump online, have a glass of wine with someone. Part of the reason why I poured this wine is because I haven't spoken to anyone all day. I'm stuck inside. So I thought, you know, opportunity to connect with Georgia and try some of this fantastic French wine that I got last year in France.
Exactly.
But anyway,
and that's what people miss.
Yeah. And it was bringing me to a point. Yes. Okay. I think the two biggest things that like people have been looking for in this period are exercise, like things to do in the day. I know people want to get their fitness up, and then things to do in the evening, which is, you know, wind down, have a glass of wine, have something to eat. So I think between the two of our industries, we're catering for a quarantine person, you know, all day at home. So it's,
actually, I did read that the alcohol industry is doing quite well during quarantine. As you might expect, I guess everyone needs to fill their time up with something, and so is the online workout industry. So it's been hard, I suppose, for some studio owners or wineries who weren't already able to just like jump online and start doing it, because they had that ramp up period, all the setup costs and the overhead and technical difficulties for people who haven't used this sort of platform before. So other businesses who maybe already had that as a service offering or revenue stream had a bit of an advantage, but everyone caught up pretty quickly and almost even, I guess, forced some extra innovation in the people that used to dominate the space. Now there's more competition, so people are having to find more creative ways to socialize online. And yeah, I think these kinds of dance parties, and I've seen like game shows and stuff that people create through Zoom, and it's really fun. And I think that goes a long way, even if I suppose as a business owner sometimes it feels perhaps intimidating to think of creating all of this when it is just going online for free and what's sort of the end goal. But I think about
Oh, this is a
yeah,
big one. I'm
yeah.
glad you bring this up.
It's maintaining, for me, it's maintaining those relationships, it's staying relevant. And I think I even want to stop using the word maintaining, because I think your point before, it's almost enhancing. Like, people weren't
Yeah.
being this active. People weren't trying so hard, I guess, to nurture their customers, because they had it not easy, but I mean, they had it built in already when they would come into the studio and they'd see them face to face, and that already existed. But now having to create something similar but different has actually, I think, created an opportunity for people to really start to dive into what their people want from them. And
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
it is relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. I think it's definitely about, just meeting the consumer where they are, and not during quarantine, but before quarantine, the consumer is online. This is where we hang out. Like, this is where millennials, I hate to say that because it's a time, it's a
almost become like a
generation.
slur.
It is. It's used a lot, but I know that a lot of people in the wine industry will relate because there's been this huge topic and this huge discussion over the past, I don't know, 5 to 10 years about how millennials are healthy and we don't drink enough wine, and we're not driving the industry forward because we don't drink enough. Basically, that was their statement. And it's really interesting because ever since this whole thing has happened, and all the wineries and all the wine industry and the retailers and the consumers are all being put in this one little hub online. I don't know what the figures are, but like, wine consumption and wine sales have risen direct to consumer like 500%, something crazy. That's just a figure I've just made up now,
like,
but it's something crazy, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, obviously this is just coming from personal experience, and I haven't done a whole lot of study on this topic. I've done a bit, but I think it just comes down to, no, it's not that millennials don't drink enough. Like, millennials do respect wine, and they want to consume wine, and they want to learn more about it. But the age old way of the industry getting the product into the consumer's hand doesn't work with how millennials work. We look at all of our products on our phone, and we look at reviews, and we first learn about products through the internet. So I think it's really gonna have to wake up, the wine industry as a whole. And I'm really interested to see all the reporting that's going to come out after this. But it's just amazing that it took a pandemic to shake this industry up and wake it up a bit. So
yeah,
I don't know, it's super exciting for me.
It is. And I think that I always like to point out as well that this effort that people are, because it is a lot of effort, I want to recognize that it's hard work to kind of turn your business from offline to online overnight, and to then keep producing content, especially when you feel like maybe you're not a creative person, or you're not really good with graphics or videos. Like, it can feel like a burden to keep sort of being visible online and being engaging and entertaining and educating your people this way. But besides just the fact that it's maintaining the relationships and creating a better opportunity for you to ramp back up when you do open your doors, because you still have a thriving network. Besides just that, I think the actual content that people produce during this time is going to serve them well for a long time to come. There are lots of ways that people like you and me can think of how to repurpose the video material that they've created in this time, and even just some of the systems they've set up and tech they have now to create things like customer acquisition funnels or whatever. Let's try to not get too dirty, but we often need content, and that's often a hard thing to get, I've found, from any industry really, specifically in dance fitness. We do have the advantage that there's usually a lot of performance videos that we can use, but there's not often as much of this like casual stuff and fun stuff and behind the scenes, or if there is, it's kind of like sporadic here and there. But now there's just such a volume of it that it'd be a lot easier for me to lead studios to generating customers online. So even when the doors are open and it's an offline service, the online marketing is going to be so much more effective and have all this much more substantial content in it as a result of this effort that people have been forced to do right now.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and the interactive nature of it, you know, yeah. So I think, like, when it comes down to it, this time of, you know, first of all, learning all this tech stuff, right, and having to set up systems online that you've never had to. Those two things are going to serve your business in the future when all of this is over. A third huge one is branding, which we touched on before. Like, branding is, there's this old school mindset again of branding being like the look and feel of your website and the colors on your page and the text font that you use. And yes, those things are all important, but I think the branding we're talking about here is like, you know, who are you? What does your business represent? How are you different from your competition? What are your values? What do you like to do when you're not serving your business? Like, what do you do outside? Do you go horse riding? Do you bake cookies? Do you I don't know. There's so many random things that business owners do that they don't realize is important for their customers. And I think using this time is a great time to also start honing in a little bit more on that branding and bringing that little spice of you, your character, into your business, right?
And
so I think that's another takeaway.
Yeah, oh, I agree. And I feel like it's kind of happened as a bit of a byproduct of people being stuck at home, bored, the business owner themselves. I'm not saying that they're twiddling their thumbs with nothing to do, but we're going up and down with being drained, being excited, being bored, being scared, being like, you know, relieved, like all of this emotional roller coaster. And somewhere in all that, I feel like some of the resistance, I guess, to letting their real self show has faded. So people are kind of so busy with I just need to get online, I just need to do this, I just need to keep relationships going, I just, you know, that almost as a side effect, people are being more genuine and it's coming more naturally to them to just be themselves. And they sometimes have to record a video without their makeup done or whatever, and then they're like, oh, okay, that wasn't actually so bad. So
the authentic that everybody talks about is like kind of stripping down now, and it's being forced to shine out. So,
and a great example from the dance and fitness industry of that is that, hey, some of the instructors don't have, like, you know, a studio in their house, so we've got living rooms and kitchens in the background of people's instructional videos, and it's usually made tidy. But it's cute to see. I love it. I love seeing inside people's actual homes, and I'm just like, oh wow, like I see the choice of their decor, and I see sort of just what sort of maybe life that they live when they're not teaching me in the studio. You know, it's a bit like when you're at school and you forget your teachers have a life outside of work, or even your colleagues, right? So now we're seeing that kind of behind the curtain, and it's really it removes that barrier between people.
It humanizes it. Like, it makes it real. Which so many people online want, you know, are used to putting the perfect and the curated together, which again, there is a time and a place. I'm not saying that you shouldn't put work into, you know, creating things beautiful and putting work into post-production. But the authentic side of things is so interesting. It's what people are interested in, whether you believe it or not. It's not interesting to you, but to your consumer or the person on the other end, they're so curious, you know, they want to know what's going on in your life as a business owner. So,
and I think
definitely another takeaway.
I think half the time even they don't realize they're curious until they see it, and now they're like, oh, I get like a warm fuzzy sort of feeling when I see the tutorial that they filmed, you know, in their garage, and their dog comes in and joins in part of it or something. And I didn't
100%.
know that I was missing that before, but now that it's there, I'm like, yeah, this is what I want, you know?
Yeah. And it's a great conversational starter as well. Like, any of you guys who, use social media and you are, you know, posting things on your story or your Instagram account or whatever, if you really pay attention, like I have been analyzing this for some time now, the best conversation starters for me are usually things that have nothing to do with my business. It might not be a piece of content that I've specifically put out for a winery owner or a wine business owner. It could be something totally random that I've decided to share. And it's usually those avenues are the little keys that, you know, start that relationship with that new person who decides to reach out and talk to me, which is, you know, what this is all about. It's about building relationships and you know, that's what business is about, right? So
it really is. Yeah. I had a question I wanted to ask you. Earlier you mentioned virtual wine tasting. So can you tell me how that works? Are people getting, is this like a subscription box thing where the wine arrives? Do they join in live, and how are they tasting?
So I've seen, okay, it's like, again, everyone has just, there's no structure to this, right? Everyone has just decided that virtual wine tasting is pretty much the biggest thing between a consumer and a winery. Wait, how do I rephrase that? Because tastings is how the business has been conducted forever, bringing it virtual seemed like the quickest and easiest and simplest thing to do. It's because that's all that the industry knows, right? So I've seen it in so many different forms. People have done it really, really well. People have done it really, really bad. And that's okay, because, you know, you got to start somewhere and you got to start where you're at. And that's the only way you get better, and it's the only way you learn. But so for example, there are bigger wineries they conduct like their spring release. So their spring wines are coming out, and usually they'll have all their club members in for a massive party in their wine tasting, and they'll introduce the wine to them,
party,
right? Sounds so good, a wine party. So basically what they're doing is they're conducting it via Zoom like this, and they're sending out links to all of their wine club members. Some of them are sending the wine to the customer's house. Either it's a purchase or it's a freebie. It depends how their business model is and what their budget is, etc. And basically the winemaker will just come on to Zoom and open the wine and do a release and tell them about how it was made, tell them about the notes in it, etc., etc. So that's one way. Another way people have been doing virtual tastings are through influencers. So there's a huge wine influencer community, if you didn't know. Actually, did you know? I'd be curious.
No, I didn't. Not really.
Okay. Yeah, it's so interesting to ask people outside the industry, because when I say it, they're like, what? There's a wine influencer?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't there be? But it hadn't occurred to me before, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because there's big wine influencers, right? So I guess anyone who's...
I'm not a particularly big wine... quarantine is changing that now, but I'm not someone who would probably be the best example of, like, you know, being in the know with what's going on with wine, even as a consumer, because yeah, I guess I'm generally more sort of cider or spirits and stuff as I was growing up, and now I am enjoying wine. I've developed a taste for red recently, which has taken a long time.
Well, there's some great wineries where you are in Washington State.
Oh, yeah.
So
thanks.
It's amazing wine region.
But yeah, so they're using influencers for these virtual tastings.
Yeah, so they use influencers sometimes because influencers obviously have a big pull with the consumers, and sometimes they'll get together and a winery will send the wine to the influencer, and they'll open it and drink it and have a chat with their audience on Instagram Live, something like that. Other types of virtual wine tastings, they put it to a theme. So maybe like to trivia night or something. It's not really, I mean, it's encouraged for the wine club members or the consumers to purchase the wine from the winery, but it's not obligatory. You know, they might just have their own wine lying at home. It's just a way to connect and talk, you know, learn something more about wine. There's ones that are really, really educational. So they go, you know, right in deep to the education side of wine. So I've seen virtual wine tastings in so many different forms. There's no real structured way yet, which is really exciting and really fun. Gary Vaynerchuk actually started this whole, not started, but he has his wine brand Empathy Wines, and he basically ignited, he was a big kind of influence in the virtual wine tasting world. I don't know if it's a world, but he basically said to all of the Empathy wine drinkers, you know, you purchase a box of Empathy, and on Thursday, the 24th of April at 6 o'clock, I'll come on live and I'll drink it with you. So obviously this is an example of someone who has extreme influence and can do something like that. But I think that's what got a lot of the wine community kind of thinking, okay, wait, maybe, you know, there's other ways that we can be doing things. Maybe it is possible for me to hold a virtual wine tasting.
And I think an equivalent in my space would be, I guess, we often do jam nights. So that's where, you know, we'll just come and dance, and it's just, we just freestyle, we have fun, we're all there in the same place, and maybe we're teaching each other little sequences or something, but mostly it's just to hang out and to move, just like a musician would jam, like dancers will just jam together. And honestly,
I want to come. I want to join.
So virtual pole jams have been happening, which has been really cool. I've seen that kind of like little breakouts. Like I've seen them sort of like, let's do a virtual pole jam for studio owners. I loved that because it's like, okay, these are the people who right now are under enormous pressure to keep the magic alive for their customers. But these people also love pole themselves, and these people used to like get such a creative energy and all of this from their students and their staff, their instructors, and all of that, like they're cut off from. So just that joy of dancing and to do that in a way that's kind of shared is really nice.
Actually, I've seen a lot of virtual wine tastings that are like yoga inspired. So it's like a yoga wine session.
Wine and stretching goes well together, doesn't it? Because you get the accent. And then show nights are things as well that are quite big. Show nights and competitions. So people often think when I talk about pole dance for fitness or anything as well, we do aerials and trapeze, and there's like roller skating, and there's like Zumba, and there's all kinds of different styles of fitness and dance, and they're all basically having to innovate in similar but different ways. And many of these businesses, we think of them as predominantly driven by the lessons and people coming to learn, but there's also a lot of performances and a lot of competitions that help sort of fuel the space. So that's something that immediately had to shut down. Events over 50 people, and then 10 people, and then 5 people, and it's like, okay, there's no chance of our end of year recital, or any kind of, even hens parties and things are stuff that the studio used to be able to do, and now that is transitioning online too. So seeing how people are recreating their end of term showcases or parties that they used to throw, and a lot of that, it's working. It's a different kind of format, doing it on Zoom. Obviously there's sometimes ones that are like watch parties. So for example, a studio showcase, one that I saw recently, they had all of their students who would have been performing at the end of year thing or whatever to record their performances, send it to the studio owner, and then they kind of ran it like a watch party. So then the rest of the community could still engage, like you were there, and like they could clap and they could say that was amazing, and be part of that experience by commenting. And I suppose that helped remove a little bit of the technical barrier of, it must be hard work to try to actually get that happening live. Imagine if you're trying to switch video streams to different people in different houses and all of their sound and audio issues. So I thought it was really smart to get the videos in beforehand, but then still run that as kind of a live thing that people could engage with.
See, it's so creative, and I think it's a fun time. It's a time to be creative and innovative. And I think it all comes down to mindset, like everything. There's you can look at this in two totally different ways. And if you look for the seeds of opportunity and you know, get inspiration of other people, get a bit of help, you can really keep your business going, and you can turn it into something even better. You know, at the end of the day, something even better is going to come out at the other end. So
and stuff like the footage from these things is great to basically show people what it really feels like to be part of this community. Now you can see it's not just us doing a highlights reel or trying to kind of describe how great it feels. Now they've got so much material that literally it's like being there as close as possible to being there that we can be. That's what we're all striving for right now.
Yeah, it's awesome. Oh, that's so exciting.
We're kind of getting close to running out of time, so we should think of what are the main takeaways. What's something that you're trying to do with your clients or your business? What's something you wish that they knew?
So I think like something I wish that they knew. Well, I guess something that's like really changed my business model and the way that I work with my clients and my customers is, you know, it's forced me to innovate as well. And it mainly came from the idea that, you know, I was working with a lot of people where I would come in, do their social media, take over majority of it, and you know, I would work it all, and my team would basically take over their digital marketing, right? And you know, during this crisis, I have lost a lot of clientele. There's a lot of people that freaked out, a lot of people who have, you know, decided to take everything in-house. And I realized when they did that they didn't have the tools and the skills to actually go and run with it. You know, it was like my solution for them was a real band-aid that was helping their business for the interim, but then as soon as they took it off, it kind of
for the time that you were there, it was working well, but
exactly. And it was a huge undertaking for me to then have to train them, you know, following this period and anyway, so it's forced me. I've had to think of ways, and I think what I would really love now going forward is I've decided I would like to empower different business owners and wineries and their social media teams and their marketing teams that are in-house to, you know, be doing things better online, to be spending their time wisely when they are online to maximize their results. So yeah, I guess that brings me into like what I'm doing now is I have a small coaching group, and I've decided to take on different people in the industry. So either business owners who are solopreneurs who have their own shops, or maybe it's the marketing manager for a winery or a freelancer in wine world, basically all these different people in the wine industry who want to learn how to use social media and digital marketing to grow their business online. So I have that community up, and it's in like beta stages now. So yeah, anyone who has stayed to the end of this video or this podcast, congratulations, because I know that we spoke about a lot of stuff. I hope you guys got some takeaways.
We got excited.
Yeah, we did. We got a bit carried away. Maybe it was the French wine that I'm drinking. Yeah, I'd like to invite you guys to reach out if you want help. This coaching group I've seen so much tremendous success with my students that are in there now. Or if you are looking for something that is a bit bigger, you know, you do need someone more in-house, taking over, taking time off your hands, then me and my team are here to help you with that too. So I guess the one takeaway that, you know, I can kind of give from our chat is, to wineries out there who are struggling, business owners out there who are struggling, just know that there are tools out there. There are other wineries, there are other businesses who are seeing success right now, and all those tools are out there for you too. So have a bit of hope, have a bit of positivity. I'm 100%, I mean not 100%, 99% certain that if you look for the seeds of opportunity, your business can come out better and bigger and stronger after this. So yeah, I'm excited for you guys, but I do understand that it's been a hard time. If you ever want to reach out and chat, then you know where to find me.
I really love what you said about that being needing to empower them so they can do it themselves. I feel like that has been the flavor of the month. If it wasn't already something that business owners wanted, which I feel like often it is in small business ownership and people who are kind of got that entrepreneurial drive, they often want to know how to do it and they want to be able to stand on their own 2 feet, and they're very willing to take on expert help. But it isn't something that we want to be a band-aid or a crutch. I totally agree with you there. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do in my industry too. So I have got a free Facebook group called Market and Grow Your Pole or Aerial Studio. And then I added, even in uncertain times, just recently. So
I love that.
Thank you. We're focusing on obviously how we can get through this period, but these are skills, these foundational marketing things, what you're talking about as well with social media, and about how we get our message out there, how we maintain interest, how we talk about things in a compelling way, how we understand what is going on in our customers' brains and what we need to do to kind of bridge the gap between them, you know, wondering whether or not they need our service or our product and knowing that it's the right answer for them and they like can't wait to give us their money. So there's a journey they go on along that path. And what I really want to try to do with studio owners is show them what that looks like and how they can do that in an ongoing sense. It can be like a sales funnel on a Facebook ad campaign and something like that. We often think of that as advertising, but it can also just be always just how do we get this into the culture of your instructors and your staff and even your students. And I think that's something that people are responding well to. People do want to know how to do it themselves. They do, I think, recognize that they can't always do it themselves. And then that's when it's great for them to be able to move up into some of my paid services and one-to-one support or coaching or strategy or implementation, whatever that looks like, right? And I'm sure you're the same. We do try to tailor things to, like, the business owner meets their customer where they're at. We talked about that earlier. What are they actually wanting from you right now? And people like you and me are in the same position. And I think that this done with you is something that I'm really passionate about as well. So I hope people come and find us and let us know if they need more.
I'm going to come find you. Market and grow your pole area studio. Is that
Aerial? Yes.
Okay.
You should be able to find it. Market and Grow Your Studio might even bring it up. But yeah, it's pole/aerial.
Okay, awesome. And anyone looking for any other free stuff, you can also, any wine industry professionals out there looking for some other free content from me, you can also find me at Chloe Cristallini on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. So yeah, I put a whole heap of free stuff out there too.
Yay! Everyone loves free stuff. Yeah.
Woohoo!
I'm not sure if we mentioned our business names at the beginning, but I'm Georgia from the heart of Pole. I also have a business called GEMO Creative. And that's where I do similar things, but in a broader sense, working with other creative professionals outside of just dance and fitness. So you can find me in either place. And you're Crush It Social, is that right?
Yes, Crush It Social. So Chloe Cristallini. My real name's actually Chloe Thomas, but Chloe Cristallini is my stage name.
We all have stage names. Yes.
I thought we were on the topic. No, my Instagram name. So yeah, come find me, Chloe Cristallini, Crush It Social, and let's sort you out on digital.
Yay! Thank you so much.
Really
fun.
Thanks for this chat, Georgia.
Illuminating.
Thanks for filling my social distancing, even if you're drinking tea. Cheers.
Thank you.
Loved it.
You have a great week.